to dig in a little deeper with you with the home style renovation program so that you can see what your clients will be going through from start to finish and help have a good understanding of the process. Here's a sample repair list. We really aren't limited to what repairs can be completed as long as the value can be supported. We can do pool additions, pool repairs, kitchens, bathrooms, flooring, painting, air conditioning, heating. If a property was started with renovation and a seller decided that they didn't have the funds to finish the project and it's an all cash, we can close with that transaction. So we really don't have any limits. It's just as long as the value can be supported. The one thing that is a little bit limited is landscaping. It can be difficult when we're tight on value to do landscaping requests because we don't get a dollar for dollar upgrade typically on landscaping. We're going to lend on the as completed after renovations home value. So the appraiser is going to take out a bid and from the contractor, and they're going to look at comps in the area. So let's say we're doing a room addition. They would look at a 4-bedroom comps instead of a 3-bedroom comp. Or if we have bathroom or a kitchen remodel, they're going to make adjustments on that appraisal for those rehab items that we're completing. It's for purchase or refinance. We can do up to 95% financing for primary residence, 90% financing for second home, and 85% financing for investment property purchase and or refinance. If we're doing less than 20% down, then mortgage insurance is required. We can do either a lender paid where we finance it into the rate or borrower paid mortgage insurance. Either option is fine, whatever the client prefers. We do allow seller concessions. I don't see that as often anymore, but we'll allow up to 6% on owner occupied and second home, and we'll allow 2% on investment property. This is a conventional Fannie Mae loan. We'll allow a client homeowner to have one home style loan at a time. They can have a max of 3 within their lifetime with iMortgage. The first and most important step after getting an accepted offer is getting the licensed contractor out to the property with the client so they can do the dream list, I would say within 3 days of an accepted offer. And this is the biggest piece to being able to close within a 30-day window. It's getting that licensed contractor on board and getting them to quickly give a bid within that first 3-day window. So I always recommend homeowners will pick their own contractor, and I recommend that they have that person kind of on board and on their team ready to go before making offers on a property when they think that they're close. And that bid is also going to break out labor and materials, and we're looking for the contractor to tell us what permits are needed. And since we're on the topic of permits, they can apply for those permits while we're in our 30-day escrow period, and that way once we close the loan, they'll go ahead and start with work and we won't have to wait for permits to begin the rehab project. The appraisal is going to be marked as a subject to, and we'll do a final inspection once all of the repairs are completed. The contractor is going to need to provide their license, their liability insurance and bonding, and we're going to check the contractor license board, and they'll have to have their contractor profile completed. So I get that question a lot. Can I use any contractor I want? Yes, but they have to be able to provide those documents, and we'll need proof that they'll be able to complete the project. It's really to protect the homeowner. If there are any structural repairs that are required, we'll have to get an FHA consultant. I've used FHA consultants in the past with doing 203K loans, and I actually think they can be a great asset. So I wouldn't look at that as a negative. It's just one more person on your team to make sure that everything gets completed the way that it should be. We require a home inspection, and one thing is on delayed financing. Delayed financing just means a client that puts all cash down on a property and then they decide to get a mortgage after the fact. That's called delayed financing. They'll need to be on title for a year to be able to qualify for delayed financing. So that's one thing to keep in mind with your all cash buyers that think they'll do cash and then they'll turn around and do a renovation loan. They can just do a regular loan. That's not a problem. But if they want to do renovation, they have to be on title for 12 months. And we've gone through the max repair and cost cannot exceed 50% of the as completed value. The repairs work must start within 30 days and it must be completed within 6 months. And we'll cover this a little bit more in detail too, but let's say that someone's doing extensive work and they cannot live in the property while the repairs are being completed. We're going to need them to, they'll have to start making mortgage payments within the normal time frame. So if they were to close end of July, we would skip a payment in August. Their first payment would be in September. September would cover the interest for the month of August. So a normal schedule, but they'd have to plan for that in a savings account. A lot of repairs that we do don't require the homeowner to be living in another location. This is just, in those with extensive repair work. If we're doing less than $50,000 in repairs, we'll do a maximum of 2 draws, and I'll cover how the draws work in the next slide. We'll go up to a maximum of 5 draws with over $50,000 and an FHA consultant being used. And they're going to be, an FHA consultant will also be required with over $50,000 in work. There'll need to be an inspection prior to each disbursement. And we can use multiple contractors, so they don't have to, we don't need multiple bids, but if they do want to use multiple contractors, that wouldn't be a problem at all. And we'll also require a 10% contingency reserve. So let's just say an estimate comes in at $8,000. We're going to require 10% of that, so $800 to be held in a contingency account. And any unused contingency reserve will be applied as a principal reduction on the loan. So let's say that we're doing a 2 draw, less than $50,000 in work. How does the contractor get paid? The first draw, draw 1, is after the close of escrow, so let's say 30 days later. We're going to do a disbursement of either 50% of the bid, the total bid, or 50% of the material cost, because that material cost is broken out on the bid, whichever is less. And then the remaining funds will be dispersed once we have our final inspection, final title update, approval from the disbursement department, and have that reinspection from our appraiser going out to the property. Next, we'll run through the financing. We're looking at this example. This is a Fannie Mae worksheet, and if we were looking at hard cost labor and materials of $8,000, contingency reserve would be $800. Architect and engineer fees probably wouldn't apply at such a low rehab amount, but it could. Consultant fees would be like your FHA consultant. Typically, I see them charge around $500. But it's going to be based on the client's choice, so they can call different FHA consultants. Our reinspection, it's just like a normal escrow, and we have to send the appraiser back out to the property to make sure that health and safety items are completed. It's $100 for the reinspection. Title updates, we estimate $100. I think that's probably estimating on the high side, but we always try and estimate that in here. And Fannie Mae, they used to allow financing of mortgage payments while you're not able to occupy the property, so it's still in their FHA Excel spreadsheet, in their Fannie Mae Excel spreadsheet, but they no longer allow that. So I just leave that in there as an additional time to point out that mortgage payments cannot be financed in if the client is not able to occupy the property. That's no longer an option, and it used to be. So some common Q&A questions that I get: how many bids are needed? We just need 1. And if the client, let's say they're a licensed electrician or a licensed contractor, can they do the work? And the answer is no. The Homestyle program does not allow for any self-help, but they can contact a business that they know for a bid. And kind of the reason behind that is clients would potentially maybe overstate what the total cost of repairs is, kind of pad the bid to be able to get some proceeds, extra proceeds back. So that's why we don't allow that, or why Fannie Mae does not allow that. And then with permits, we talked about it. We're looking for the contractor to tell us what permits are required. Permits can be paid for upfront to expedite construction. And let's say there's a property that has exposed insulation, work was started, it stopped in the middle. Is that a problem? Can the client purchase that property? And absolutely, we do not have a problem with that. We can go ahead and close a normal escrow and finish the project. And how do we determine what items are required in the renovation? So we're still looking at health and safety items. We have the client doing their wish list, but the appraiser can also call out if there's any bad termite damage or anything that could be considered a health and safety, they'll put that in a report of things that need to be repaired. And then we'll look through the appraisal to make sure that everything that's in our bid that we receive from the contractor is covered in the items that the appraiser has called out. And if they are not, then we'll have them added to the bid throughout the 30-day escrow period. And that's everything. If you have any questions, then feel free to please call me. I'm here to help you, and I would love to help you get started on a renovation loan. So call me when you can. Thank you so much, and thank you for listening.